welcome to this episode 212 of Frame and Reference. You're about to drop into a conversation between me, Kenny McMillan, and my guest, Francois Dagenais, DP of Smoke. Enjoy. Do you ever come down for those types of events, like Cinegear and stuff like that, or do you mostly?
Yes, I went. It's funny. I went for 2 years in a row a few years back, and it was great. I was there because I was invited to the area as a dinner with a bunch of DPs, and it was amazing to be, sitting next to those all the great DPs. 1 year I was next to Robert Yeoman, and
Sure.
it was very, very funny, and and just met different people, and sometimes I will see them the next day at Cinegear. I remember I met Jonathan Sella barely for a few minutes, and then the next day I'm just walking and we just say, hey, anything I should see? And say, yeah, I should go to the Felix booth. Those lights are really good. And no, I'm using them. So it's been very, very good. And those dinners were really good. I also went 1 year. I was invited to just for the ESC dinner. And so I'm friends, and I shot a movie that Chuck Minsky directed it. And he was the chair of the ESC Awards. So I was at this. He said, hey, do you want to come to my table? And so that was all good.
Yeah, I finally was able to, what's the guy's name? Alex something or another. The guy who's like the gatekeeper for that.
Yeah.
And I basically just followed him around Cinegear until he finally was like, all right, whatever, you can come. And he gave me a wristband. So this year I was finally able to get in there. And yeah, it's real fun to like look up and you're like, oh shit, there's Jeff Cronenweth. And just, I'm pretty good at just running over and being like, hey,
Yeah, no, those you sit down and we have full dinner. So it was it was very, very good. And I feel it gave me a good energy afterwards. Like it gives you a boost, and you see other people, and sometimes during those dinner, people tell you about, a bit more just personal. Are they dealing with being on location or other stuff? So I just feel I always come out of it very energized.
Yeah. No, I always say that like Cinegear is a much more interesting event than like NAB. NAB is just so tech focused and also exhausting. It's so enormous. And Cinegear, it's like all the same equipment, but usually a little smaller. And then you get to see all your friends or colleagues or whatever, which makes, as you said, a lot more energizing. Those Felix lights really came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I feel like they're just popping up on it's like I feel like they're going to be the next Quasar.
No, they were, but I think they're very well made, and I remember the first time, even when I was at Cinegear and I saw those Lecos.
Yeah.
And I saw how they were and how the angle, I just feel they well thought out. That's what I will say. They really feel like they listen to what the industry needs, and they're not necessarily trying to copy somebody else. They almost see what is other lights are not doing right now. What can this do? And they're trying to focus on a niche of the market, or nobody seems to have put this and this together. I think that will be very useful, for example, for a rigging team, so something, so there's always something. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this light's better, but then the rigger is like, yeah, it's much better, Francois. Okay. But there's a quality, so there's something more unique to it, and I think they've been able, so that I think that's why people are reacting to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I feel like from Kino to just regular, like I guess sky panels, everyone was like, okay, soft light is king, and that finally we're like getting, I guess we could make a couple hard lights, 2 or 3.
But even if you want to bounce the light still in a soft way, sometimes that's where sometimes I even bounce the Leco, but in a very weird corner, and they're able to be the right angle so it doesn't go everywhere, and they're the right size, and they have the right punch to still be used, let's say, as soft lights.
Mm,
We use some of the lights that they have as on smoke as street lights.
sure.
We replaced them as street lights, and then it became, we could give them a good color, and so that was like, huh. And
You
they create this breed. So
are you very tech? Do you enjoy like the technical side of it, or are you much more like passingly interested and just let the grip and gaffer team figure it out?
I'm more, yeah, I'd say I don't know if I'm passive, but I definitely let them do their thing. Like I'm not somebody, I'm not the type of people that will renovate their house by himself.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like I was just talking, a DP like Chuck Minsky, he's helping the guy redo his garage. He's redoing his garage as an art studio. So he's there every day with him and he's enjoying that. And that's for him is a great, that's not me. That's not me. But I feel he has a different relationship with his grip team of how do you want to build this?
Mm,
He's much more checking them, but also he has an interest of what they're doing. I sometimes go see them like, oh, okay, cool. But I'm interested and I'm more fascinated also because it's not my world. So sometimes I go see it and I'm much more asking questions because I'm at awe of how they built it or what they were able to do. So there's much more of that fascination. So I'm not totally passive. I like to see it because a lot of time I'm more, this is incredible. I didn't know. And then usually the gaffer and the key grip will be rolling their eyes or their head. But of course, this is what we do. But I'm so yeah. So that's a bit. I remember at some point I couldn't believe the tent that they built again on smoke on one location. This is incredible. And the rigging grips just look at me. This is what we do.
yeah.
But it was unbelievable. I remember I actually walked around and wanted to see more of it. Of they'd done it. It was just amazing.
Yeah, it does seem like even if technology has gotten more advanced in lighting, like that, it does feel like the rigging of everything, the amount of the necessity for negative fill has made it so that now you're using way bigger,
Yeah.
fabrics and stuff as opposed to like fancier lights or whatever.
Uh, yeah, I agree. And the fancier lights are usually the smaller lights. It's funny.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I expect like car rigs now don't look, you watch movies from the 90s and everyone's just lit by some giant thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean now you can just put a little, one of these little,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah. It's fun to watch all that stuff. Like obviously at my level, I'm not doing massive rigs, but I feel like I have to be a little more, on top of that because I usually end up buying the thing, versus, having a team with me, especially on like
Yeah.
documentaries.
Yeah, no,
How did you get started in film? Because you had a pretty long career at this point. You've also done a great job of being completely offline. Probably one of the hardest people to do research on. Normally, I can look all this stuff up.
I'm back now. I've done more, but like I was definitely, yeah, I had a weird relationship in social media. Actually, for Smoke, I came back to be more online,
Mm,
but I went a bit more. Yeah, I just felt that when I used to be online, I was more checking my things. I have a website that's
right,
probably that I keep up and I make sure. Like I have a great. I have a friend that is an amazing top editor, and he agreed to still do my website, and I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, just send me, and we talked a bit, but he does it when he can, but he's amazing. Like he's he does a lot of much much bigger stuff. But this is not the way to make a living. It's really a friendship,
right.
and we develop it, and I think he enjoys seeing what I progress. But yes, I work a lot on my website, and I'm a bit more online. But yeah, I've kind of at some point I went off a bit the grid. I just feel it was not making me happy. I
Oh,
guess that's
I'm right there, man. Like at this point, I'm especially in the past year or two, I've been like, that is the dream to just be able to not have to do your own
yeah.
PR at all or have
But I
anyone know where
still
you are.
but I still do it. But no, I started in the industry in a very fairly unique way, and it's too bad it didn't stay. The national TV in Canada had this kind of special TV show in French that was a bit kind of a reality show, but also kind of a contest show where they will send 8 people between 18 and 25 that were non-professional to travel alone for 6 months and do 23 shorts in 26 weeks.
Wow.
My year, I went to Africa and North America. And the winner, by the way, you judge, and the winner gets to direct a feature documentary at the National Film Board. So I did Africa and North America. The year after was Europe and Asia, and after that they went around the world. So it became it was called the race, the course around the world, basically. And the person that won the year after me, you might have heard of him. His name was Denis Villeneuve.
No, sure. Yeah.
So that's, if you want to know how Denis started, this is how he started as well. But it was amazing. I was 19 when I did it. I was the youngest of my year. It really helps you to realize who you are, what's your strength. Like a lot of people actually became journalists because, it was kind of documentaries on any subject. Some were more funny. Some did much more abstract film. I started to do even a bit of fiction during it. But I realized my strength was images. That's when I realized I will call the producer and he will be like, so yeah, he will talk to me about the text because you have to record your voice and all that. And I said, oh, the images. Oh, they were great. They were great. But you should really put a pencil in your teeth before you record your text to have a better diction, better narration. So it was, that's what I learned. But I went to a refugee camp, in Malawi, and I was able to go to see illegal gold prospector in Rwanda before the war. And I did a very poetic, I didn't know it was poetic at the time, but kind of a poetic film in Burkina Faso about a village that's waiting for the rain, that they need one more rain for their crops to be good for the year. And it was just very simple to show how people live. And I met somebody that was working for an NGO on the plane going there, and he said, because you have to find your subjects. Nobody give it to you. So you arrive and you talk to people. Sometimes you've done the research. But he also gave me a lot of confidence in doing stuff on my own. So when you have to do a short after, and you have 3 months and first year to do a short, I can do that. Like it. And so that's how I started. And from there, before that, I had a philosophy teacher that was also a film critic and introduced me to a film director. And I was kind of a training, observing what he was doing. But very quickly, I was noticing the cinematographer on that. And so, and his name was Eric Kaila, and someone I'm still in touch after that. And from there, I just went, I started to do a film school in Canada, Concordia. I did commercials for a year in Central America. And then I went to AFI and then started to do, I was very lucky. I did a low budget feature where I was not paid, 10 weeks in deferral, but with a great cast, so known actors. So on my reel, people recognize the actors. The production team, the director and the producer were very good, and had a very big circle of friends at getting locations. We had those amazing houses, those amazing places to shoot with known actors. So when I had that in my reel and it got released in New York and LA at the time, people just assumed the movie was much bigger than it was. And they were like, oh, you have this cast, and this is like a real restaurant, and this is like this big house. And, it was amazing. So it was an amazing, that's how I started. And then I did the bit feature, but then I met a director that I really liked working with, and we did those documentaries. Her name was Ellen Klinensky, and I was able to do like 4 films with her. And so from there, I still was doing drama, but enjoyed the time that I did more documentaries. And one of my favorite project is still, we went to Sri Lanka, and it was a human rights activist from Sri Lanka had been killed, and for the first time, a family agreed to talk about it. And it was still when the civil war was still going on, and she had a very interesting approach. Um, a bit more stylized as she wanted to do it, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of DPs I've spoken to who have almost come from like that kind of journalistic background. I'm thinking immediately of uh, Kirsten Johnson. Like seeing how full of life she is, and just fun. And then she's like, so anyway, the 5D really changed my life because when I was in Afghanistan, they wouldn't kill me. And you're like, what? Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's a lot of that. It feels um, you don't really get in America. Most of the time, you're just like, filming with your friend. It is interesting that at least in, you know, the West Coast where I grew up,
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of those, like, I guess in America, like those type of I know the UK does that a lot, where they'll spend money to get kids to like learn filmmaking
Yeah.
as a program, and we don't do that here, and I feel like that's a miss.
But by the way, this TV show I'm talking at the beginning, you were on TV every week, like you had to present on TV, and it was still like a reality contest. So
Mm.
for them, they were justifying the money because people were tuning in. And at the time, you end up in weird places, and things happen to you, and your film is not good, and people were fascinating also by what was happening to you in the week, or yeah, the money at the bank didn't get delivered for some reason, and so you had to do this, or you had to spend 35 hours waiting in there, so there was all those stories that made the reason that there was viewers.
Mm.
And of course, that was all before social media, so people were much more fascinating, um, of also how much trouble people will be willing to go, like 20 hours, 25 hours on a bus or a special, Jeep to go somewhere to make you discover something unique.
So were you ostensibly alone on these shoots, or did you have
You,
like a crew following you?
no, no, you're alone. Like you arrive with a tourist visa. We had the format was Super VHS,
Mm.
and you're allowed two tapes. And by, let's say you arrive a Saturday, by the Friday or Saturday, you have to have your project sent.
Mm.
And so you arrive, usually take a day or two to find your subjects, usually record in a day. Then you do your write your text, and with a stopwatch, because there was no time code, you do, and by a few years later they had time code. You say the image at 3 minutes 20 seconds, you do your shot lists, put it for
Oh,
six
wow.
seconds Then you have a paper edit. You put that in an envelope and you send that to by FedEx, or a lot of time in Africa it was a DHL or the actual courier, like Air France courier or something like that.
Damn.
Uh, and so you were extensively alone, and then there was always, for all the years, it was the same editor. And then you got Telier, that was amazing. And sometimes the description was not right, so you had to think for himself. And I didn't know much about filmmaking, so at some point I say 3 seconds dissolve. That will be super slow and everything, and I realized it was super fast. Like I didn't have the experience. But no, you traveling alone, so you meet people, and depending if you arrive at the airport alone, certain airport they're really looking to grab, let's say, uh, you know, take advantage of you by offering you this and that, and but also you meet people that are just incredible, like the people I met in this village. Or I remember I went to this restaurant a few times, and the owner of the restaurant decided to help me. I would stay 2 weeks in Rwanda, and she's like, "Yeah, one of my clients. You should go see him. He doesn't have a phone, but he's a retiree, and he can maybe help you." So I drove 3 hours to meet him, and I'm like the Monday night. I have to deliver a film by Saturday. And so I meet him. and he's not talking much. So this is not going well. And he talks, to other people. I don't know. Then he come back. He said, "Okay, we're leaving 2 jeeps tomorrow, 7 a.m. We're going to find you illegal prospector. It's a 5-hour drive. I'm bringing you, taking care of everything. You staying with me." Said, "No, forget your hotel. We'll get you reimbursed. You staying with me is better. We leave from here. The room is getting ready for you and everything." Like this was the kind of experience that you do. People were sometimes extremely nice. And in the States, I had also, I end up, I'm in New Mexico. I have no idea where to go. I try to meet, end up at the University of New Mexico at the bookstore, and I see this book of all the photographer for New Mexico. And I see that all the pictures I liked, a lot of the photographer I liked, is all about Taos, New Mexico.
Mm.
I decided to go to Taos, New Mexico. And then I go to the main newspaper, little newspaper there with, the time, still a real newspaper that was doing interesting journalism. And the main journalist is just like, "Yeah, I'll help you out. This is a bunch of subjects. Do you want me to call it for you? You should come." I told my wife you're coming for dinner tonight, and I did, a film in the middle of nowhere about a hippie community that was without the solar, just living without off the grid. But 30 years ago, that was over 30 years ago. That was a big deal to be living off the grid.
Right.
And then I did another film. I did 2 films. I stayed because I love it, about this painter that was inspired by what happened in Tiananmen Square. I did a food series, and we talked, and I filmed him for 2 days, and it was amazing. And it's all from meeting this guy. So that was kind of the experience.
With the popularity of like Anthony Bourdain's show,
Yeah.
coupled with whatever Love Island,
Yeah.
those types of shows. I bet you could relaunch that series and people would enjoy it. I wonder what. I'm actually fascinated by this because like I've been shooting this docu-series.
Yeah.
That has me. I'm second unit, so all I'm doing is filming interviews various places.
Yeah.
And so it's taken me all over the country, but I'm only usually there for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And my move has been just find the closest restaurant that looks interesting next to a bar or a brewery or something that looks interesting, and in one night you can make a whole bunch of friends. I'm wondering what was your method of trying to get like to meet these people? How do you ingratiate yourself to a community that quickly?
I mean, sometimes we had a month before to try to find people.
Mm.
But sometimes, as I say, in Burkina Faso, I meet someone in the plane. He's like, I work for an NGO. He said, "You want to come to my village? I'll help you out. You could stay with me. I'm there until Thursday. If you're here by 11 Monday tomorrow, you can live with me and see what's in the village." Okay, I arrive in the village, and there I know I'm 3 days there. I film for 2 days very quickly. Then you have to make decision, and you have to trust people.
Right.
Uh, you know, Sometimes I stay in a bed and breakfast, and I talk with the people working in a bed and breakfast. And one of them I discovered was trying to be an actor in San Antonio, Texas, and had done some community theater and was pushing. And we talked about stuff. He was Latino and just had very interesting face and feature. And I said, "What don't we do? Can we do some kind of a drama? Can we invent stuff with you?" Yeah. He started to write with me, and he just did it, And it's easier when I was there 2 weeks, so I did maybe one film before, and then. But sometimes it was you really had to be tuned. Of okay, I'm having breakfast at the bed and breakfast. Talk to people. Sometimes, for some reason, I wanted earlier breakfast, so they will have me in their kitchen having their breakfast. It was easier to talk to them.
Mm.
But you're very open to just. And sometimes people will give you names of someone you should go see. Sometimes you arrive there, they're very helpful, and sometimes they not. But yeah, and sometimes you're in a cafe, someone come talk to you and have an idea. But sometimes also, as I said, we'll go. I went to meet like a French teacher in New Mexico. That went nowhere. Then I went to the bookstore. Sometimes people will like give me from before a contact, or some people outreach, when you arrive. So you have like Malawi that had been organized
Mm.
with the High Commission for Refugees. I'd done that 4 months before I left. So that was like very official and set up. That film was like, okay, you go into a refugees camp. They had clear everything with the government, my passport, like everything had been clear in advance.
Right.
You could do that. You had a month before you leave that you discover it. But it was a whole process. You had to apply and you had to do some films, and people were eliminated on cameras. And
Did you were you focused on cinematography at that point, or were you just documenting?
I wanted to be a drama director, like I think, I don't know who have been my influence at the time. Like, who, I mean, I had a bunch of movies I love, but like the kind of style of the people, I guess someone like Wim Wenders, I felt had a cool life that was making good movies and was a bit everywhere. But, that kind of, I was a bit influenced more by the lifestyle. I was 19 and the director, but I was not aware I was good at images before that. And before that, I thought maybe I will work in stills.
Well,
Something funny. First night that was set up to someone that used to be my neighbor when I'm 6 years old, was from the States. End up meeting through his daughter. I'm invited to dinner by this young photographer, and he has a bunch of art directors and people from the advertising world. And this guy next to me at the dinner, I've been asked me, he said, if you want to do a film on a photographer I work with, I'm his art director. Maybe you'll be interested. He does mostly commercials and stuff. I said, what's his name? Irving Penn. Nah, I don't think so. And I was like, no, I don't know him. It's still, one of the great photographer of all time. I could have spent 2 days with him. Like he was literally, you want to come to the meet him tomorrow? I didn't even say yes, So that's what I'm saying. You have to be. I should have looked to a book and the next day go to the thing and who's this guy? And, ask people or phone friends and I'll do something. Today on the internet, it will take 30 seconds. I'll be on an iPhone. Like, oh yeah, this is a. But I had no idea. So that's a bit. But yeah, I didn't know about cinematography. I was much more influenced by stills and thought I might be a still photographer. And then I did, as I say, I was kind of an observer, intern type on this feature. And I saw this DP with Kayla, and I didn't realize. I thought the director was setting up the lighting and the camera.
right.
And it was very interesting. At some point, I really saw the relationship, and that the director came more from writing. And I remember he set up a shot. The DP set up a shot that was beautiful. Frame was perfect, and the director said, "No, this is wrong. They're too close to each other. At this point in the story, you see they still look at the dialogue. They should be further apart. We need to put them, there's more distance between them. We need to understand that." And I'm like, okay. And I remember seeing that and understanding that's a bit the relationship you can have. I mean, every director is different, but I saw a bit, sometimes that's the relationship. And then I saw how he was interacting with the others, but I was still not sure it would be a DP. And then when I started film school, I realized I understood enough technical stuff. I was not sure I was with the technical, but I realized I was good in understanding films and exposing film. And then I just fall in love with it.
Yeah. The to your point earlier about like knowing photographers and stuff, I think that was a big jump, not jump, but like something that stood out to me after leaving film school was like, I think film school teaches you to be a technician. And then when you finally start working, you realize like, oh, all the people who are successful are artists, and they have way more interests than you would assume. Photography might be one of them, but a lot of, architects and stuff and all.
Yeah.
And that was fun for me because like I was like, oh, I get to learn new stuff. I hate feeling like I know everything now about a subject. I'm like, now it's boring. I think that might be the ADHD in me, but like,
where did you go to film school?
Arizona State. I went to New York Film Academy right before that. They had this like summer program for high school. It was like 6 weeks. And then Arizona State, which now is a phenomenal film school, but at the time it was brand new. So it was just like 30 of us fighting over a DDX 100,
Yeah.
But I will say to that point, because I brought that up a few times, like the one great thing is all of us moved back to LA. Well, back for me, but we all moved to LA and all still work one person in our group became a relatively successful actress. Other people went into production or art design or whatever. But like, I think whenever people ask about like, oh, going to college, is it worth it? I'm like, yeah, mostly because of the friends you'll make. And obviously in film school, it's like, oh, it's who that'll be the person that gets you your job. It's like, yeah, but even the friends that don't work in cinematography or whatever can't like hire me for a gig. It's still nice to have a large friend group that all, you've grown up, you can share problems with it. I think it's tough for people to like go to film school and then move to New York or LA or wherever it be, for Vancouver, and then be alone. Like
No, I totally
that
agree.
sucks.
But I feel if you share years with together and you share something that somehow remain,
Mm.
I totally agree. Like I have friends from AFI, they might be other DPs, but we talk, about just our life or things and how it's going on a shoot. We understand each other, but we could be fully honest,
Yeah.
and so I feel yeah. I personally liked film school. I mean, AFI, of course, is a very expensive and it's a big, big commitment.
I'll say it's
Um,
probably the best one as far as I've seen from
yeah,
everyone I've
but
spoken to.
both film school for me, and even with today, with the access to camera and everything, I feel it gives you a discipline and a structure.
Yeah.
If you're someone that needs that kind of just courses, learning, uh, being also with other people, exchanging that way, it's your place. And as you say, you make not necessarily, I will say, some of them are not even connections, they're more just friends, like you just talk about stuff and you did stuff together. But I feel if you're someone that is very entrepreneurial and doesn't need, could totally decide to do the 100 best movies or whatever and do a list, and we'll do it in 6 months, or we'll do 10 major directors and we'll watch 5 movies of all of those directors, and his very structures and his film history, and then bought a camera, knows how to rent it, is really good at making connection to shoot stuff for free, but interesting stuff, or even created their own projects. I know people like that.
Yeah.
And I was never that person, but I know. So if you have your own, now it's a lot cheaper and easier to buy lenses and camera. If you have that and you have also kind of that sense of where to explore and go to meet other people to shoot, that's amazing. But if you don't have it, it's also a good place to meet sometimes people that either you have something meaningful to go with. My first feature, no, not my first feature, but my friend's first feature, Federico, we did it together, and I introduced him to his producer, and the film went to Sundance. It's my only film that went to Sundance. But we met at Concordia Film School in Montreal. Right away, I say he was really talented, and his movie were very different. He had a unique voice, and we did that together. So we did that movie, and now he's doing his own stuff. I'm still seeing him, I saw him a few months ago. But that's what it is at some point, if you connect with people and you want to grow with them, and sometimes it's not so much that you're a contact, but you've made a meaningful connection with someone artistically, and you connect during the film school. Afterwards, maybe you could develop projects together, and maybe you have to shoot for free for that person to really help the project going. But hopefully, a few years before me at film school, the best example will be Darren Aronofsky and Matthew Libatic. They were both at AFI just a few years before me. I will actually hear about him. It's funny right away. Oh yeah, I did doing this, like when he was doing his first feature. I will hear about it just because it was just a few years removed. but they really connected there, and that's what film school give you, is a place, hopefully, to find kind of your team or your soulmates of filmmaker that you could create after. And it doesn't mean it will happen. Um, it's the two people I was the closest, the production designer and the director, that we did our projects together at AFI. I actually thought, I was afraid they were going to leave me behind and go
Right.
do big things. That production designer that's very talented is now a pilot for American Airlines. And the director did, you know, end up doing stuff, but she felt at the time it was very hard for female filmmaker.
Sure.
And now she's in charge of an NGO.
Oh, wow.
So, it's too bad. Like her short did well, but still, we had done the first year short together, and we did the second year short, and second year short got shortlisted for the Oscar, like the last 30 or 35 shorts. But still, those two people find it too hard and left the industry. So even if you meet people, it doesn't mean it will work. But I felt that maybe if I was there and I had a camera, the lenses, and I said to the team, hey, let's do something, or let's do 5 minutes of your feature, or can you get this known actor to do this? Will that help you? I feel there's still ways, but if you meet people and connect, as opposed to you're answering an ad for a short and you didn't have time to build a connection, it's not the same.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun to, like in your case, like maybe at some point that NGO does something incredible and you're like, oh, I can't shoot that, but I know someone else who could do a
Yeah,
great documentary. Or like having a pilot friend has got to be fun. But even just having, even if the people you meet there never hire you again, it's still wonderful to, or I shouldn't say hire you, but you never work together again. It's still wonderful to have careers in parallel.
of course.
It's incredible. It can be incredibly lonely, especially as a DP, and it's fun to be able to just like meet up with someone that you've known for, in my case at this point, like 15 years, and there's no you can, like you were saying, talk honestly about your failures and stuff like that we all go through. I feel like a lot of times when people, hey, can I get a coffee and pick your brain, it's always just like, how can you get me work? It's very rarely just talking about the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah. And or if your close friend call you and need work, is because he really needs work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I don't know, I need work. Okay, yeah, yeah. Let me see what I could do now. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, hey, can you get me a job? No, no, I need work, Francois. Can you? Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'll help.
My friend Nick is very good at that with for me.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, but yeah, as I say, film school is not for everybody, and these people that never went, that went either started just to crew, or they were very good at just offering the service and knowing where to, or they had the right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the path into smoke then? Was it just like work? I'm going to assume they saw Yellow Jackets and were like, that's good. Or like, how'd you
No,
get pulled onto that?
no. It was more. It was connections. In a way. In a way. But it was more someone that vouched for me, more than just a connection. Is someone, director I work with, named Jim McKay, and I had a really good relationship with, and he's done some of the best TV. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Mr. Robot, The Wire, The Good Wife. Anyway,
Basically the top 10.
yeah. He's done. So he had work on Blackbird, and from my agency, on the list of my agency, I saw that Denis Lehan has a new show, and I saw the team. And I'm like, oh, this is the team from Blackbird. I'm wondering if Jem is doing it. So I just emailed Jim and say I'm interested. Didn't hear about it. Get an interview for Smoke. So then I emailed Jim again. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't reply to you. I just forwarded to one of my best friends is the producer on it. So I told him to give you to check you out and give you an interview, basically."
Mm.
So I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course." So then I did the interview with Dennis, and there was a few other people on the call as well. Carrie Antolis and Jane Bartolome, the line producer. And I was doing well. At some point, I felt I was not getting Dennis. I was not getting, there was something. And then I kind of looked at him and I was very clear in an answer about, why I wanted to be on the show. And his body language changed. I'm like, okay, that's what he wanted to know why. What was it? He couldn't place me. Now I explained really, and he's like, okay, now I'm placing you. And that is body language and he's talking about stuff. And I felt, okay. But yeah, it was really just a matter of having Jim that I enjoy working with me, and everybody on that team basically knew him and knew that he was kind of a working director a lot and worked with a lot of people. The funny thing is they had set up so I would be working with Jim, but then they changed the schedule and we didn't work together. I did all my episode with Joe Chappelle, but Joe is also a great director and was the producing director for 3 seasons of The Wire, for example. So very, very top. And he had done a lot of the episode of Blackbird. Right. Both Jim and Dennis, both Jim and Joe knew Dennis since almost 30 years ago. They had met him, I think, on The Wire, both of them.
Gotcha.
Didn't know him well, but I'd just say, hey, I read your script, like they knew a bit, and then they both were on Blackbird. So I felt that made a huge difference for Smoke, having directors that had already a long-standing relationship with the showrunner and a writer like Dennis. Yeah, that's it. For me, I did all my episodes with Joe, so I did all 5 of them with him, and it was great to learn again, to know each other. But then by the time we did our 4th episode together, we already, we were shorthand, and we could go further. We talked, hey, we haven't tried this, we haven't tried that. So it was very, very good that way.
Yeah. Do you? Now I have 2 questions, but the first one is: do you remember what you said that made him his body language change, as you said? Do you remember?
Yeah, I answer more. I think he didn't understand why I wanted to do the show exactly.
Right. Just like I want a gig.
Yeah, and so that's it. And he saw some of my show that was maybe more stylized. It was maybe more grounded in reality. And I remember just saying, I'm interested in working. I said, I don't care the genre that the show is. I want it to be the best it can be in that. So, and I said, all the team, everybody I see involved in this, they're all the top. Like, you've done this, you've done that, and this is amazing for me. This is what I'm looking for. So I could work at that level. And then he was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, then it made sense to him because, I'd done stuff in different genre, like Yellow Jacket and the Mr. Benedict Society was more of a children's show, but I'd done, people like James Wabin and Karen Kusama directed on that show. So there was still a level. So the minute you realize why I said his body language changed.
Yeah. And so there's 2 DPs on the show, you and who else?
No, there was 3. The pilot was done by Sam McReady.
Okay.
And then he left after the pilot. And then Scott McMillan arrived and did 3 episodes.
Gotcha. And so did Sam set up the look, or was there a more collaborative kind of thing? Because it's a very
Sam
stylized show.
Yeah. So how much have you seen, by the way?
I saw up to 3.
Okay, perfect.
Because I didn't get any screeners, so I guess 4 comes out tomorrow at the time of this recording. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw so what it is Sam made, he was explaining what he was doing, but he really created a foundation in terms of, he used a camera that I didn't really have used before, the Sony Venice 2 with the Hawks anamorphics.
I knew they were Hawks. All right.
The X, yeah. And And you had the crew was like creme de la creme. A lot of the crew from Shogun,
Right.
but top crew all around. So I arrived. That had been there, but what happened is, I think by the time Sam left and the pilot Derek Curry left, there only had been a few scripts, and the characters really developed, and there's a lot of twists in the show and different path. And I'm not revealing anything. Anybody that's read the Denis Lehane novel
Right.
won't be surprised by that.
About John
So
Orr.
then the show had to remain consistent while at the same time responds to the evolutions of the characters, evolution of the script, and even I would say how the actors were playing their characters, and they were still during the pilot discovering their character. So that became, in a way, the our journey of me and the director Joe, of course, in collaboration with Dennis and collaboration with all the great team I had. But that became really a lot of the discussion I had with Joe was about that. It's like, yeah, but then now this is happening, and how do we change? But is it too much of a difference? But yeah, we need to respond to this and this and this. And Dennis was really open. He pushed us to keep doing our best and be bold and do things, but we still had to respond to the evolution. And so there's a lot of change that happened. And so what was weird, interesting, but very unique for me is I was on a survey of the pilot with Joe, wondering if it's actually when I met him or just the day before. So we did the pilot together. So it was sometime more in the back and watch everything. And then we shot some fire on the first day of the shoot, second unit for the pilot. So we were there from the first day of the shoot, and we were still shooting together on the last day of the schedule, like 5 months at the end. So we stayed the entire time to kind of create that kind of, I will say, continuity. Right. And of course, Scott, he was working with Jim McKay, were responding to the same thing and still trying to adjust things also with their block, but also like, hey, I'm going to do this, is that, so there was still collaboration there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a phenomenal looking show. You kind of, what's funny is obviously I've only seen up to the end of 3, but this episode of this podcast is going to come out probably by the time the show's out. So like fully.
Yeah.
But I was reminded, by the end of episode 2, it has the same, I suppose, pacing of like Knives Out, where you get the goods almost immediately. Yeah. And now the rest of the series is going to be sort of a reverse cat and mouse game almost, which I was like, I enjoy that very much.
But you still, there'll be new discovery and new characters, and you introduced to characters that were not there in the first 3. And again, I will say that's also come from maybe the world of novels, or you will have 100 pages and then, oh, there's a new character that's really important in the novel, and it takes you a certain way. I think it's still that structure. And I find it, for me, what I really loved about being part of the show is I felt you were part of something unique, where you had really a creator, Dennis, with the other writers, of course, and the team around him. But everybody, that was involved, from the line producer, PM, ADs, all the production team, and all the creative team were all there to support. And they all wanted this to work. And all the actors, they were all very happy to be there. That's the other big thing. They were happy to be, saying those lines, and they were happy to be part of the show. I've been on series where the actor hate to be on the show. They were promised it was supposed to be a one summer thing. This was to be bad. They needed to make money, and then the show became popular in the 3rd season or whatever. Right. And you could see like they don't know their lines, they don't care being there, and sometimes they're good actor. They just didn't want to be there. and it makes the crew feels it, so it's difficult then to push and try to do good work.
Right.
In this, I felt it was such a pleasure and so much more easier to do your best work because you're reacting already to the writing that's there, but then you see the blocking and you start seeing the rehearsal with the actors and everything comes alive and you just want to help and push that. And as I say, since you have so much support from everything around the production and everything, you have what you need to do it, and you had the conversation in advance to be able to do that kind of work. And as I say, you have the creme de la creme of a crew. So
Right. Was there any sort of references for the look of the show? Obviously, like an easy one would have been like Backdraft. I imagine that must have been a conversation, but like,
well, the main one was the favorite film from Denis, which is The French Connection.
sure, okay,
That's really, in terms of the greediness, the feeling of the city, we added a bit of grain. That was really, really important for him. And also how the characters are not unique and they're a bit complex and they're not totally playing from the rules. They have a bit of their own rules and all of that. So that was, but it's felt really grounded in reality.
yeah.
And I think that's what Dennis wanted. He wanted to do maybe the look could be, as you say, stylized, but he still wanted to feel really grounded in reality in terms of believable that like a location, a lot of it for him, for example, was location driven.
Right.
I don't buy this person on this salary will live there. Or this guy is doing a lot of illegal stuff. He wouldn't live in a fancy, fancy place.
Right.
He will hide that he has so much money and he will leave more. So you have to find a very small place to shoot. Or, Harvey, the head of the fire department, played by Greg Kinnear, he wanted much more a house built in wood, more of a post and beams kind of house, to also differentiate from other stuff. So that was the location we had to look for. But so yeah, that's what I mean. He really wanted to be, do I buy that the characters are there?
Right.
And then the lighting, you could take liberty, but I will say a bit like how documentary photography will take liberty. If you're familiar with a lot of the photographers from Magnum, a Magnum agency, it's funny because Dennis is a huge fan of, yeah, still photography, but documentary still photography. And Joe Chappelle had a lot of pictures from Magnum Photographer, mostly from a French photographer named Patrick Zuckerman.
Hmm.
That was in display. And then Sam also had pictures from Soul Leather.
Lighter, I think, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's the photographer he brought in. But a lot of it, as we went, and I brought the photographer I brought in was Alex Webb.
Sure.
Also to this relationship with the city and the city being kind of a character. How do we make that? How do we make it feel and all of that? So that was the reference, more than maybe a backdraft or something else. Because a lot for the fire, and there's other fire near further in the season, the reference were either documentary footage or again still photography from National Geographic of actual fire and how does it look, or other Magnum photographer. So that was a lot of what was the reference, but definitely I would say the first based was the French Connection.
Yeah. Talk to me about the color contrast, because it's there's a wonderful, I mean, it's not the same throughout, it's well, the look is consistent, but you know, exteriors are giving me kind of an Ozark vibe sometimes. A lot of these interiors have this wonderful interplay between like green and orange in a way that doesn't feel forced. You know, sometimes you can overgrade something, and then obviously with fire, you've got this wonderful, brilliant orange. And I was wondering how much of that was, are you like tuning LEDs to give you that, or is that more in the grade? How are you guys approaching that?
It's a bit of everything.
Yeah,
Uh, I had, first of all, I had a wonderful dit named Chris Bolton. So it was really keeping things and it was really helping with the look. And then our final colorist, Ziggy, also was creating very strong look. But then with Sam, they decided to do a film. There's a film, I wouldn't call it a plugin, but a film grain ad that Company Tree has. There's a bunch they have. And so Sam chose one that he liked.
was it live grain?
Hmm?
Was it live grain?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a live, it's a real grain, like real grain that they can add. I don't know if you call it live grain, but real.
Oh no, there's just a plugin called live grain.
I don't think, no, it's their own Company Tree.
Gotcha.
They
So they're
own
never going to tell us.
No, but I believe it's real grain that they put through stuff that is, it feels like literally grain. So, but it's their own, they've created a few of them, but it's not a plugin from somewhere. They master their own. Yes, so it's their own sauce, exactly. So, but that reacted to the color as well, which is interesting.
Mm.
That affected too as well. But from the beginning, there was definitely an idea to push the color contrast, but on a way to, if you look at some of these movies, they do that a lot.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that kind of respect to going back to that. And when I had night exteriors, I added color. Never try to never be too much. Like, sometimes people put in color, but feeling that you could put, especially there was a scene at the end of 2 in an alleyway where I felt I had a lot of freedom to add a bit more color and a bit more contrast. And so that, and so that there was lights that were there for real, but then we added a lot of our own lights to create. And Jared Tiffin, the rigging gaffer, was excellent at giving you more even than you need, and really say, oh, you want deeper, and then, hey, what you thought, which color should we go? Just to tell them. And of course, everything is through a board. Most of the time, some were not on a board, but we'll find stuff that was still. I think the big role again is that color grounded in reality. Maybe not a lot, but if you have a building that look a bit industrial, can it have that color coming back to the wall next to the actor or not?
Right.
It was always finding a palette that includes quite a bit of color, but that feels grounded to reality. And we play to find, there was and sometimes we'll tweak it, but definitely we will play with the color of the worn, find the right one. That's something that Sam had done, and then we'll adjust as we go again. That's what I'm saying. Do we go less? Do we go more? And I had the team to do that. And then, as I say, between Ziggy, that film grain, that all was part of it.
Yeah. Do you find that? Recently I've been very interested in the idea of artificial light having to, meaning, like the lights that we have, having to fight its way into a. I can't remember who told me this, but I've just been sitting in my brain for months now, which is the idea that a lot of times, especially on a documentary or whatever, you'll put just the light there, maybe through a diffusion, and there it is.
Yeah.
And then, but someone was like, no, I like it when the light has to fight its way into the room because it feels more natural. And I was wondering, does that spark anything in you? Do you have a similar idea of how like artificial light should be? If that's a good question.
No, it is. Sometimes it is actually, I would say sometimes easier to make it more natural or something. If as opposed to put it next to it, the lights should be coming from the window. you do make it really come from the window, and then you added just a bit of light. Uh, there's a scene in a fast food restaurant at the end of three,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of our lighting for that came from outside. So it's lighting them. We supplemented with stuff inside, don't get me wrong. But still, I felt that if the lights were off, the restaurant is closed, and the employee is just there, that the lighting will be more coming from the outside. It's more believable. You more playing with the city, and there's a bit of light inside, as if it's bounced from just ambient from another window, or it's there's a bit of light still in the restaurant. So that's, I feel, and some people will push that idea even more. They'll close the curtain, they will close things, so you never feel that things are overlit, uh but then sometimes you will put your light totally in the room and just shape it, and it does work as well. But I understand the idea of like, no, I'm coming more from the a place that feels real. It might be harder, but it will have more of naturalism. And sometimes what we call naturalism actually makes it more stylized,
Right.
because you only have light there. The actors are going in and out of shadows because the light is just in one section. But that's actually how it will be in that room.
That's definitely more where I was kind of getting at, was the idea of like, when I was younger, my first instinct would certainly be, oh, there's light, even on a night shot in the restaurant, there's light coming in from the window. Now I can just put my key right here because it's quote unquote motivated by the window. And now I'm more interested in the idea of like, oh no, it's bouncing off the floor and then the wall. So that's where it has to come from. And it might be
Yeah.
lower in a weird color, like that.
Yeah.
That's starting to make me excited to try out.
I've done, by the way, in the doc. I did the doc we did in Sri Lanka. We actually put industrial practical right in the frame
Mm.
for interviews. So people, it made him
Like a
look
sodium?
more. Yeah, with sodium and mercury, real
Oh,
ones.
jeez.
And yeah, that film is called No More Tears, Sister. It's on PBS. And and the idea was more that people were underground to do those interviews, that it was more secretive, that they didn't, since it was somebody that there was still a civil war and someone had been killed there. They were not. Those people could live normally, but it was a bit the idea that it was a bit more underground, a bit more, as they were describing stuff like, we were running down the street and there was a bunch of gunshots. We felt that well lit in a nice place, in a nice hotel room, wouldn't fit.
Right.
We find places that were with those lights a bit darker, felt more that you were in attic or basement. That kind of vibe just helped with what the people were saying, that sometimes were like, I was afraid of, I will be the next one that will be the na, or, I couldn't believe my sister got killed and that was her sister, the family talking. So that's one thing we did to help with those interviews.
Yeah. What were some of the challenges of shooting obviously massive fire sets? I assume VFX came in and churched it up a little bit, but
Yes. Well, it depends. The first episode, that was the biggest challenge because Taron and the whoever, if there's is wearing a real mask, is really in a very hot situation where he has his own respiratory and everything.
right.
So for those scenes, all the the operators and camera assistant had to do a special training, and they had to have respiratory and everything. Later on, when we did other fires, we didn't have like the actors were not wearing that. So of course, you can never be so hot that it is dangerous for the actors that don't have protection. They're not in a fire. They're not being fire situation. It might be a fire, but they are not.
They're not in the suit.
They're not in a suit. They don't have their own respiratory. So we have to respect things. So that was more. There was a really good safety protocol that was put in place, but it was more that we did a big scene at some point on the stage, and near the end of the series, and we had to worry, will it be so hot on the ceiling that the lights, all the S60s will start reacting, or will start turning off on their own. So that was one of the worry we had to be. But mostly what we do is there was a lot of monitoring, the various monitoring that were done on set, and if it goes to a certain level, carbonite, the different things that we're testing, everybody will just go out, we'll open all the doors, and everybody was taking a 10-minute break.
Right. So I'm sure the AD loved.
No, AD would totally prepare for it. Like,
I guess that is a safety thing, so yeah, they're fine with it.
No, but also he was totally prepared. Like, it actually happened less than he thought. So he had beef it in the schedule. I think he had think that will happen 8 or 9 times a day. That maybe 3 or 4.
Oh.
So he was totally prepared for that. And a lot of time it will be, well, okay, let's break for lunch a bit early. We'll do the stage and then we'll come back, or that kind of thing.
Sure. How do you make artificial fire? So obviously you got real fire there, but how do you make artificial fire look real? Because I find that every LED panel that has the fire setting doesn't look good.
Well, we first of all, when we use LED, it was usually maybe more for the soft part, and we have of course a board up that will be that will find their own. We'll try to find our own setting to the board up, not something preset, and spend a lot of time. Like if we're doing the exterior, sometimes they will be, he will be looking, and sometimes the gaffer will be there. A great gaffer, Dave DeCal, will be looking for the more realistic. The other thing is we use not necessarily soft light. We use Dinos and the Maxi Brutes and those big lights, and did an effect that way.
Yeah, well, and those tungsten fixtures are literally fire, so it's a little bit easier to make.
So, and there was quite a bit of real fire. I feel if you have real fire, that's that makes a lot of the if part of it is real, I feel whatever you add after that, it's easier to buy it.
Right. Yeah, or even just match to when you can see it.
Yes, exactly. So we will usually, it will be a match. You will be, when we did bigger fire, it would be real fire with, let's say, hard light Dinos or Maxi Brute plus S60 or 360 or cream source, because you wanted more
punch.
No more punch, but more cell, more cell on the light, or and VFX.
Yeah.
So that combo, is really what made it work.
Yeah. Well, it's a phenomenal show, man. I'm very excited that I get to experience.
No, I mean, it was for me. It was one of my highlight to have done that. I mean, I was, and of course, we're talking about the big fire scene, but some of the there's a scene in episode 4 just in the office, and there's a long dialogue scene, and I just love that. There's the 2 actors there, and we're doing this long dialogue scene, and it was stylized because of other practical is there and doing a lot of the key light, but it was just, there was a lot of scenes that it was just special, and you're very just happy to be part of.
Yeah. I mean, the inside of Taryn's house, what's his character's name? I just watched all 3 episodes this morning, but anyway, the house, I just love the way that's like the night scenes, especially like it just looks, just having him just keyed by like what appears to be just the lamp, when he's talking with his wife and stuff. It's just like, it looks,
and that's on stage, by the way. That's
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll do it. That's when you really get to have fun, instead of fighting with like, but there's no fixture over there. It's like, we'll build it,
Yeah, but sometimes on the show, of a certain size, you try to find location outside that, you could put stuff, or you try to find neighborhoods that are receptive for you to put stuff. So
right. Well, I will let you go because I've kept you a little bit.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot Sam a text now and let him know we spoke.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production, produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to frameandrefpod.com and clicking on the Patreon button. It's always appreciated, and as always, thanks for listening.